participated. Here with the captain, that's nice. Didn't realize there's kind of company on stage. So I think maybe many of you were part of the first wave of cryptocurrency innovation, Bitcoin, digital cash systems, and you participated in that. Maybe you got a good 1,000x return, and that was great for you. Thank you for being part of that. I like to describe that as sort of the groundwork of cryptocurrency. I've done a lot of educational events, organization in the Bay Area and globally, and I think without that layer, so many of these other things would not have been possible. I personally was very involved in the early days of Ethereum, both as someone who participated in the crowd sale and helped build infrastructure and education around Ethereum. And if you participated in that with me, you also probably got a 1,000x return. You participated in what I would call the ocean stage of cryptocurrency, the initial ability to tokenize things, which, as I've noticed from the audience, many of you are trying to do today. And I think that's fantastic. And there were many of us who worked very hard to make that possible. What I think we're about to go into, and I think this is a fitting place to actually be giving this presentation, is the air stage, where we are starting to see real-world assets, whether it's real estate or funds or ownership of various types of assets, commodities, all go into the blockchain context. It's inevitable that this is going to happen in some way, and I think everyone in this room has sensed that we're on the verge of this third wave. And to get us there, I mean, obviously, some of you are familiar with the history of airplanes. You know, there were the Wright brothers. They built their own sort of, attempt at a plane before they finally got it up in the air. It's been a little bit difficult. You know, you need a number of things to come together for actually getting it in the air, flight. You need mechanical engineering. You need, in our case, and for many things, you need legal integrations in multiple jurisdictions. People who understand what Bitcoin and blockchain are and are maybe willing to be a little bit progressive and step out and sort of test the waters. And I'm happy to say that since the early days of Ethereum, that's something that our team has been working on. We organized the first legal conference on smart contracts at Harvard University. And we established a working group at Stanford University to figure out how can we bring in all of this old world value and let it live in a blockchain context. One of the interesting things that we discovered along the way, and this is borne out by the SEC's recent ruling on the DAO, is that governance is a key component, because when individuals have the ability to directly participate, they actually are no longer passive participants, as is the case in many ICOs today, but they are actually active decision makers in the future of that platform. So with a team of an incredible amount of legal advisors, from the people who originally did the AngelList docs, to the people who did the Spider ETF, to the people who did the first Overstock crypto equity offering, we are set to the hilt to actually take this wave and build a platform that is for real assets what Ethereum is for tokens today. And we're extremely thankful as well to have an incredibly talented team of partners in the mix. In particular, my partner Philip, who was managing a $10 billion portfolio for Alliance Group and has also built several tech companies himself. My partner Timo, who is involved in the building of Banker Bay, which is now the largest deal origination platform for private equity in the world and does $25 billion a month in deal flow. So we are partnering not just with crypto people, but people who have an understanding of the existing finance industry, and not only that, people who have experience of building platforms from the ground up to take them so that they can actually capture the value creation that is there in one of these waves. So I think if you compare us with any of the other projects that are looking a little bit in the fund management or hedge fund space, you probably find that they have great, and I've seen some of them, they're great projects. They have good teams behind them. They're doing some kind of specific fund, and yet we're building at this platform infrastructural layer that is going to capture and allow this whole third wave to happen with a very high degree of sophistication that is much like the planes that you see above you today. And I think that if you've seen the evolution of what's happened in the past 3 years, you've probably seen the little pieces come together one at a time. Just on the governance side, which is a very exciting one to me, I've organized many meetups just on governance. I was early in sort of Dash, and I work very actively to promote different forms of decentralized governance. There have been a number of iterations over the past couple of years where that's become an increasing emphasis, and that it needs to be embedded at the protocol layer. But when it is embedded, it allows a much wider sense of community participation and evolution in those projects. For our own case, we've been at work for over a year on our liquid democracy protocol. We have a team that's working out of Oxford University that has designed, looked at sort of traditional voting systems, the game theoretical implications of them, and gone into a very savvy design phase. And we've partnered up with some former people from the Ethereum Foundation to make this into a general service layer that not only facilitates our own project, but actually can be something that anyone who wants to embed some degree of governance and potentially protect themselves from the negative impact of the Howey test or securities regulations can use for their projects. So we're actually, of course, and this has always been part of my vision, if you've seen any things I've done in this in the past, eating our own dog food. Because we wouldn't have it any other way, and we wouldn't sell a service to other people that we weren't willing to use ourselves. So immediately after our own token offering, which it's worth going into a little bit, all of the token holders will be able to participate in electing the board members of the organization. We're, as far as I know, the first organization that has ever done anything like that, and particularly taken people from the blockchain world and actually allowed them to control a brick-and-mortar, real-world organization with those legal integrations. And if you just take a moment to breathe and reflect on that, this is a critical upgrade. It's a fascinating new change in how the whole world works today, because everything else is the regulators and other people from the old world looking in and trying to decide what should happen in this blockchain world. Is it allowed or not? This is the opportunity to shift the whole discourse in the opposite direction, where not only can we decide as people who, and I certainly welcome all of you to participate in this sort of coin offering and be a part of this thing that has gone now beyond just an experiment, but to something that has the possibility of creating a framework that not only allows thousands of real assets and funds and fund managers and all those things to be listed, it actually can form a platform where every financial institution of the future will actually have this governance layer embedded at its very core. And if you think about how the central banks of the world exist today, or how Wall Street exists, their whole ownership and governance system is very obscure. The Federal Reserve was set up after J.P. Morgan said, I don't want to actually be doing all the monetary policy for the United States. I don't like it. I'm the big banker dude, but I find it really annoying. How about we get a bunch of people together and create this Federal Reserve system? And so it was not something that had the democratic or embedded governance system of the future. And I think if you just let that process and think about that, you'll see that probably you want to be part of the shift. It's a shift that affects every aspect of society, and not only that, it's going to be the future, the third wave of blockchain. Thank you.